Boris Johnson has been warned parliamentary Brexiteers will be very anxious if there is any suggestion of him extending his the 15th of October deadline for the conclusion of a free trade deal between the UK and the EU. Daniel Korczynski also said he was very concerned at rumours of a 3-year transition period with respect to fishing rights. Mr. Johnson, speaking after direct talks with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, said he had relayed the message that time is very short. However, with substantial differences remaining on the subjects of fishing and state aid, Mr. Johnson left the door open a crack by suggesting a degree of flexibility in the event that it appeared the deal was all but tied up, raising the prospect of an agreement not being finalized on the 15th of October. There have also been concerns voiced in government circles at the possibility Brussels could seek to run down the clock to bounce Britain into an unsatisfactory deal. Mr. Korczynski said, "He has set this deadline of the 15th of October and a lot of us are anticipating that, and we are all anticipating that day very, very eagerly. Any more delays and Conservative MPs like me would be very concerned about it because quite frankly we are running out of time to make sure that proper arrangements are made and disseminated and explained to all the component parts. Whether it is the trucking industry, whether it is the ports, all the people who are involved, every time they have gone right down to 1 minute to midnight. Whatever the deadline is for the practical verification of this agreement by the European Parliament, they will have that in their mind." However, Mr. Korczynski warned, if we haven't agreed on something at least this month, then there will be calls for the Prime Minister to basically say, look, that's it, we're leaving. Because we need to prepare and we need to tell British industry what changes they need to make. Mr. Korczynski said he was particularly anxious about the prospect of compromise in one area, that of fishing rights. He explained, there is speculation now about a potential transition period for fishing rights, so they give them 3 years of unfettered access to our waters. Quite frankly, they have already had 4 years to get to grips with the changing circumstances. Mr. Korczynski, who cited the UK's recent deal with Norway as an example of how such a deal could be done, said, "The thing is that the United Kingdom is not being unreasonable. It is not unreasonable for a sovereign, independent country to state that we will issue licenses for these fishermen to fish in our waters. These will be negotiated on an annual basis, predicated on the sustainability of the fish stocks." Speculating about where things were headed, Mr. Korczynski said, "I know that the no-deal option is not for the faint-hearted. I know that there is probably a consensus that we should continue to go the extra mile to do a deal with the European Union. But not if it means abandoning one of the fundamental planks of the regained sovereignty that this country has voted for. They want to impose their rules and regulations on us because they see they need a fair playing field. But I think that rules and regulations should be constantly in a competitive state. The EU should welcome the fact that the UK is going to be implementing a different system because we will be able to test one another to see which system creates more prosperity. They don't want us to do that because they rather suspect that the UK, of her own volition, will create circumstances which are much more competitive than the socialist, red tape monster they have created." UK negotiator David Frost and EU counterpart Michel Barnier are due to resume talks tomorrow, after Mr. Johnson's talks with Mrs. Leyen. A Downing Street spokesman said both had agreed on the importance of finding an agreement, if at all possible, as a strong basis for a strategic EU-UK relationship in future. He added, they endorsed the assessment of both chief negotiators that progress had been made in recent weeks but that significant gaps remained, notably but not only in the areas of fisheries, the level playing field, and governance. They instructed their chief negotiators to work intensively to try to bridge those gaps. They agreed to speak on a regular basis on this issue.